Romney walking toward the podium. Forgive me. Okay, Dana, let's just wait for the thank yous, and then we'll take Mitt Romney live. My question to you guys, let's throw up the poll. This is the CNN ORC poll, because the question we posed was, who best can handle foreign policy? And you see the numbers. Obama, 53%, Romney, 41%. As you pointed, Dana, Romney's going to be throwing some elbows here, throwing some punches against the president. How effective do you think it'll be for the voting public?
Well, I think we can be able to listen to him and to see how it goes off here in the audience. He's obviously got a very friendly audience here. Not me if you guys want to start to take this live, because we just began to speak. But
let's listen then. Let me cut you off. I know you want to listen. I know our viewers want to listen. So here we go. Mitt Romney.
Adjutant General Alan Gunnar Kent, Executive Director Bob Wallace, distinguished guests and members of the VFW, thank you for your generous welcome. Now, I want to start today with a few words about the unimaginable tragedy in Colorado last week. We've since learned that among the victims were 4 people who had served or were serving our country in uniform. Today, our hearts go out to the families of John Larimer of the United States Navy, Rebecca Wingo, an Air Force veteran, Jesse Childress, an Army veteran and member of the Air Force Reserve, and Jonathan Blunk, a Navy veteran who died shielding his girlfriend from the spray of bullets. The loss of 4 Americans who served our country only adds to the profound tragedy of that day. All Americans are grateful for their service and deeply saddened by their deaths. We mourn them and we will remember them. Now, the VFW, as you know, is now over 2 million strong, has a special place in America's heart. Some of you fought recently in Iraq or Afghanistan. Others are old enough to have marched, flown, or sailed by orders of Franklin D. Roosevelt. Whatever your age, whether you're Republican or Democrat, whenever you serve, there's one thing you have in common. You answered the call of your country in a time of war. From December 7th, From December 7th, 1941 to September 11th, 2001, whenever America has been tested, you stepped forward. You come from our farms, our great cities, our small towns and quiet neighborhoods. Many of you have known violence so that your neighbors could know peace. You've done more than protect America. Your courage and service defines America. You're America at our best. And it's an honor to address you today. Our veterans are part of a proud tradition that stretches back to the battlefields at Lexington and Concord, and now to places like Fallujah and Kandahar. Year after year, our men and women in uniform have added proud achievements to their record of service, and President Obama appropriately pointed to some of them yesterday in his speech. Anytime our military accomplishes a vital mission, it's a proud moment for our nation. But we owe our veterans and our military more than just an accounting of our successes. They deserve a fair and frank assessment of the whole picture of where we are and where we want to be. And when it comes to national security and foreign policy, as with our economy, the last few years have been a time of declining influence and missed opportunity. Just consider some of the challenges I discussed with you at your last national convention. Since then, has the American economy recovered? Has our ability to shape world events been enhanced or diminished? Have we gained greater confidence among our allies and greater respect from our adversaries? And perhaps most importantly, has the most severe security threat facing America and our friends, a nuclear-armed Iran, become more likely or less likely? These clear measures are the ultimate tests of American leadership. And by these standards, we haven't seen much in the president's first term that inspires confidence in a second. The president's policies have made it harder to recover from the deepest recession in 70 years. Exposed the military to cuts that no one can justify, compromised our national security secrets, And in dealings with other nations, he has given trust where it is not earned, insult where it was not deserved, and apology where it is not due. From Berlin to Cairo to the United Nations, President Obama has shared his view of America and its place among nations. I've come here today to share mine. I am an unapologetic believer in the greatness of America. I am not ashamed of American power. I take pride that throughout history our power has brought justice where there was tyranny, peace where there was conflict, and hope where there was affliction and despair. I do not view America as just one more place on the map, one more power to be balanced. I believe our country is the greatest force for good the world has ever known, and that our influence is needed today as ever before. And I am guided by one overwhelming conviction and passion. This century must be an American century. In 1941, Henry Luce called on his countrymen, just then realizing their strength, to create the first great American century. And they did. Together with their allies, they won World War II. They rescued Europe. They defeated communism. And America took its place as leader of the free world. Across the globe, they fought, they bled, they led. They showed the world the extraordinary courage of the American heart and the generosity of the American spirit. That courage and generosity remains unchanged today. But sadly, the president has diminished American leadership, and we're reaping the consequences. The world is dangerous, destructive, chaotic, and the two men running to be your commander-in-chief must offer their answers to the challenges we face. Like a watchman in the night, we must remain at our post and keep guard of the freedom that defines us and ennobles us and our friends. In an American century, we have the strongest economy and the strongest military in the world. In an American century, we secure peace through our strength. And if by absolute necessity we must employ it, we must wield our strength with resolve. In an American century, we lead the free world, and the free world leads the entire world. If we don't have the strength or vision to lead, then other powers will take our place, pulling history in a very different direction. A just and peaceful world depends on a strong and confident America. And I pledge to you that if I become commander-in-chief, the United States of America will fulfill its destiny and its duty. Now, our leadership depends, as it always has, on our economic strength, on our military strength, and on our moral strength. If any one of those falter, no skill of diplomacy or presidential oratory can compensate. And today, as you know, the strength of our economy is in jeopardy. A healthy American economy is what underwrites American power. When growth is missing, government revenues fall, social spending rises, and many in Washington look to cut defense spending as the easy way out. That includes our current president. Today, we're just months away from an arbitrary, across-the-board budget reduction that would saddle the military with $1 trillion in cuts, severely shrink our force structure, and impair our ability to meet and deter threats. Don't bother, by the way, trying to find a serious military rationale behind any of that. unless that rationale is wishful thinking. Strategy is not driving the president's massive defense cuts. In fact, his own Secretary of Defense warned that these reductions would be devastating. And he's right. And that devastation would start here at home. Mark my words, those cuts would only weaken an already stretched VA system and our solemn commitment that every veteran receives care second to none. If I am President of the United States, I will not let that happen. This is no time for the president's radical cuts in our military. Look around the world. Other major powers are rapidly adding to their military capabilities, some with intentions very different than our own. The regime in Tehran is drawing closer to developing a nuclear weapon. The threat of radical Islamic terrorism persists. The threat of weapons of mass destruction proliferation is ever present. And we're still at war and still have uniformed men and women in conflict. All this and more is going on in the world, and yet the president has chosen this moment for wholesale reductions in the nation's military capacity. When the biggest announcement in the last State of the Union address on improving our military was that the Pentagon will start using more clean energy, then you know it's time for a change. Now, we're not the first people to observe this. It's reported that Bob Gates, the president's first Secretary of Defense, bluntly addressed another security problem within this administration. After secret operational details of the bin Laden raid were given to reporters, Secretary Gates walked into the West Wing and told the Obama team to shut up. And he added a colorful word for emphasis. Lives of American servicemen and women are at stake. But astonishingly, the administration failed to change its ways. More top operations were leaked, even some involving covert action going on in Iran. This isn't a partisan issue. It's a national security crisis. Just yesterday, Democrat Senator Dianne Feinstein, who's chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, said, and I quote, "I think the White House has to understand that some of this is coming from their ranks." End of quote. This conduct is contemptible. It betrays our national interest. It compromises our men and women in the field. And it demands a full and prompt investigation by a special counsel with explanation and consequence. Obama appointees who are accountable to President Obama's Attorney General should not be responsible for investigating the leaks coming from the Obama White House. Whoever provided classified information to the media seeking political advantage for the administration must be exposed, dismissed, and punished. The time for stonewalling is over. It's not enough to say the matter is being looked into and just leave it at that. When the issue was the political use of highly sensitive national security information, it's unacceptable to say, we'll report our findings after the election. Exactly who in the White House betrayed these secrets? Did a superior authorize it? These are things that Americans are entitled to know, and they're entitled to know it now. If the president believes, as he said last week, that the buck stops with him, then he owes all Americans a full and prompt accounting of the facts. And let me be very clear. These events make the decision we face in November all the more important. What kind of White House would reveal classified material for political gain? I'll tell you right now, mine will not.